Okay, guys, real quick before I take off here, I want to talk about how sometimes it can be genetic. Now, what I mean by that is when you look at these people that's on YouTube, or maybe not on YouTube. I'm not big into social media, so I just say YouTube, but it's elsewhere too. And so sometimes if you have money problems, sometimes if you think you might experience bad luck, or other misfortunes in your life, you might have trouble with relationships, might have problems with your family, stuff like that. People who are not balanced when it comes to, I'm going to say, spirituality. When I say they're not balanced, a lot of people get on a lot of this energy stuff. A lot of the energy talk is very popular, and I understand everything is energy. But I think that people have gotten so unbalanced in this law of attraction, okay, so that they have forgotten other factors that can take place to cause people to experience hardships in their finances, to experience a lot of bad luck, to experience difficulty with relationships, to possibly, not really, get married like others have, if that's what they really want. Okay? So, excuse me, guys. So, I want to talk about, maybe it's genetics. So, I was talking to somebody, I'm not really into it, but I got a 30-minute, a little mini type of astrology reading, but it's what she does is beyond astrology. I'm not big on astrology, but I'm going to be honest with you. It's not because I think it's not true, a lot of things they're saying. To be honest with you, a lot of things that they say does occur, but I feel like astrology is part of the matrix, because I told you about this earth and how I feel about this universe. It is not, it's a construct, and earth is largely what you're in a hologram. And so that's how I feel about that, and that's why I feel the way I feel about astrology. It's not because I think it's a bunch of mumbo jumbo. It's only because all of this, including the planets and stars and all of that stuff, what we see, a lot of that stuff is just attached to the matrix. Okay, it's attached to the matrix. The matrix can go outside the. It's attached to the the digital world. Okay. This type of construct, that's what I don't really care for it. It's not because I don't believe it's real. That has nothing to do with it. Because you're planted in this particular construct, so you are a part of it. Your chakras are planets lining up, so you are part of the construct. So yeah, a lot of things they do say, especially in astrology, if they know what they're doing, yes, it can be very real in your life, but I prefer to detach from it little by little, because I want to detach from the construct. Okay, but let me get into, I just wanted to explain that I'm not putting down those type of things. It's just that if you want to detach from this type of construct, then you have to, certain things have to, slowly let go of. But I want to talk about how it could be genetics, right? So I said all of that to say that I spoke to a person briefly, 30 minutes, really good. And I'm gonna go on and say her name. Her name is Sonia R. Duncan. She's friends with Crystal and Karazin. But when she did the mini reading on me, is because I was part of a group, and I won't say the name of the group, but I was part of a group. It was like last year, and so she was doing 30-minute free readings for people. Okay, and you can pay for a whole one if you want to. But she started talking about my finances. Okay. And she started talking about how a lot of it is ancestral. A lot of it is ancestral. So what I had to do around that time is I had to kind of cut ties, energetically, with ancestors who have probably left some karma behind when it comes to some finances. They left, and I'm using the word karma in this case, okay? Because some people know how to, remove karma. That's why some people never experience it, because some people, know how to remove it, and some people just don't get it. Okay. But in my case, it was some leftover it was some, I would say, leftover karma. You know, I don't care for that word, but I don't know the other word to use when it comes to finances and stuff like that. And so, I had to cut them off energetically. I had to cut myself off from them. Now, I know some people get into this a lot of ancestor money and helping your ancestors and bringing your ancestors up. You can do that if you want to, but you know why? Because also they say if you do ancestor money and, stuff like that, it will help raise your ancestors up. And in that case, it'll help raise you up. I don't really care for that, and it depends on how you feel about ancestors. Some people feel like ancestors are an extension of them. Some people feel like they are their ancestors. Some of you might be your grandmother. Some of you might be your great grandmother that came back. And so when you get into ancestors, you might be, and you burning something to your great grandmother, you could be your great grandmother. And so some people say that too, but I don't want to get into all of that, because see, that's a matter of belief, and that's why I say you can't give the same message for 8 billion people in the world, and I just come up with the word 8. But that's why I don't appreciate people coming up with messages on their channels and browbeating somebody. It's one thing to just speak your experience and your opinion. It's another thing to browbeat people who don't feel the same way you feel. Like is what you say goes for 8 billion people in the world. But yeah, so in my case, I chose to just sever ties with those particular ancestors that were horrible stewards of finances. Just break ties with them, okay? And like I said, just in my case, I could be an ancestor who incarnated, okay? But now I'm gonna also talk about things, bad luck. Okay, so I like to listen to a particular woman that's from Zimbabwe. She has a YouTube channel. And so they believe heavily in ancestors and having to deal with the curse of the mothers or the mother sins. And so it's one lady that talks about, okay, she's a witch doctor, right? But she feels like it's a curse. I actually love her gift. I feel like she's so good to me. I like watching her. But she feels like it's a curse. She feels like she cannot live the life she wants because of her mother's sins. And her mothers and her aunties, she feels like because of their sins, she feels like she has to live out this curse of being a witch doctor and not doing what she want to be what she want to be in life, because she has to deal with the sins of the mother and the aunt. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And I want to go back to, before I get too far point, that's what I'm talking about. Things that happen in your life and the stuff that you have to go through. It's not completely have to do with all of this law of attraction. Okay? Thoughts are things, but they see the problem with law of attraction is just from the more I experience, right? Because I'm no expert, but the more I experience, I feel like the law of attraction is maybe only 25% of what you need to know. Maybe only 25% of what you need to know, and that could be generous. But it's a whole lot more to what's going on in people's lives besides some law of attraction and high frequency vibration and because you notice you have some people that try to be happy, that try to have a good positive attitude. Things happen to them anyway, but then you have somebody that just seem to be negative, just have a dark soul about them, and they really don't experience those type of things. It's not to say that they don't have hardships in their lives, but they might not experience what another person who tries to be positive all the time. The person with the dark soul might not experience things as harsh as the person who tries to be good, because there's really no such thing as really being good. Okay, so that's what I want to say, that a lot of the issues that goes on, it could be genetic, it could be ancestral. Okay, it's not just about this law of attraction, it's the way you think. It could be a poverty consciousness, but it's not so much you. And you can work on your part and your consciousness. I spent over a year working on my consciousness when I learned more. But at the same time, if it's in your genetic code because of certain ancestors that have made such bad decisions in their life, and they are energetically attached to you, you know, no matter how much you try to work on your consciousness, you're tied to a bloodline. You're tied to a group that made some horrible decisions, and you could be living out their type of karma. Okay, karma just means, from what I understand and what was explained and what I understand, karma means something that is incomplete. It means incomplete. A lot of these people left this world probably with a lot of debt on them, a lot of stuff behind. I'm gonna talk about this specifically in the brown community, or you can say black culture, black community. A lot of people don't leave wills. A lot of people don't leave generational wealth, and so the child, when they grow up, they have to keep starting over and have to keep starting over and have to keep starting over, because for some reason a lot of the elders don't feel like they should leave anything for the next generations. And you know, I talked about Mansa Musa on a different channel. But this was a guy, is a black male that was worth 400 billion, worth 400 billion, is still considered the richest person ever on earth. But like I said, I want to look into the story more. But when he left this world, he didn't leave anything for future generations. See, that is the curse. And I'm calling it a curse because, to me, curse sounds scary, but curse to me just means a mindset. It's one of those things where you do the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results. It's like a poverty type of consciousness. It's a mindset that's difficult for a lot of people to break, and they continue it through generations. So I call it a curse because it's a mindset that continues to go on, not because it's something so scary and spooky. Okay? But that's what I'm talking about. The whole thing was slavery. And to be honest with you, I've said before that a lot of the slaves that were here, a lot of the original slaves and descendants that come from those original slaves, 85% were already here before the Europeans were here. But then they give you this slave story about roots and how you come from Africa and all of that stuff. Now, a lot of people that's from the Caribbean know that is the majority of the people that was been distributed around the Caribbean areas, the islands and stuff like that. A lot of them might have come from Africa, but a lot of the folks that was already in the United States of America, they were already here. A lot of them were already here. But you give this story of slave ships coming from Africa so you can call yourself an African American. But I'm going to tell you a snippet of something I saw from this lady who was Native American, and she looked like she might have been, mixed. But I can definitely tell that she, she has some, I wouldn't say black in her. I know that's not the proper way to say it. She talked about how a lot of the ancestors, they had to go through what they had to go through. Spiritually, it was a contract. It was like a spiritual contract that a lot of those slaves had to go through what they went through, because the ancestors, once again, were bad. They were horrible stewards of the land. And even when it comes to Africa, it was a lot of African kings along with their queens that sold other Africans into slavery, and people want to make it seem like, oh, well, that was just another tribe that did it. No, I think black people go globally just a bad stewards of their lands. Okay, but yeah, that's what I want to say. A lot of things that happen, what we see in the United States, is a result of the ancestors, once again, being poor stewards over the lands. Okay, and so it was what happened was, it was really a spiritual contract, what a lot of people went through when it comes to slavery. And she said, I saw a snippet of this, and she talked about, had they not gone through what they went through, like the slavery and a lot of stuff like that, generations would have been wiped out. A lot of people would not be here today. A lot of people who are brown people in the United States would not be here alive today had they not agreed spiritually to go through slavery, because of some of the things that they did. They were poor stewards of the land. And so when you look at slavery, and when you look at a lot of things that happen, and I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of people who are deep into the occult, brown people are aware of this, but they don't want to bring this to the public. And it just is annoying that a lot of occult people who are deep into the occult know this, but they cannot bring it to public platforms. Okay, they know that the reason for slavery is because of some serious stuff that the ancestors have done that caused the descendants, that caused their generations, future generations, to have to go through the worst type of slavery ever. And they lost their lands, they lost their tongue, they lost their names, don't know who they are. That is not just white evil people doing that. That is some serious I'm gonna use the word karma, that was left over from those ancestors. And the generations, future generations, had to suffer. Okay, and brown people today, really worldwide, but brown people today have not broke that curse yet. They have not broke that curse, and in many cases, they're getting worse. So I'm gonna end this here, but that's why I say it's not just about some law of attraction and thoughts of things and just having all of this happy feelings. You think about what you want and you meditate and you think about a joyous feeling around it, and then it just manifests in your life. That's not always the case. It's good to look deeper. But I have to go, you guys. You guys let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you soon.